Hello and welcome back to the Apex Motorsport podcast. In today's podcast we're going to be talking about the Ferrari scandals, the driver academies and if they're pointless or not, and also why it was important that Lando Norris got his podium for the Formula 1 in general. So there's no other thing to start off with, but once again acknowledge Mr. Richard over here.
Hello.
So let's just go into this, I suppose. We've got Binotto and things are changing.
Yep.
Is he the right man? Nobody knows. Like, realistically.
I thought whenever Mattia Binotto came on the Ferrari, he was making a lot of changes. He was making them more open to the media, and it was something that was nice to see, and it's something I have covered in the channel previously. And now, with the news is coming out about how he's treated his drivers, and Toto Wolff is saying he's to blame for the struggles so far this season, it's really changed my opinion on him. I thought he was going to be the man that would turn Ferrari's fortunes around, but it seems to be not going. They seem to be going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I agree with that, because, like, as we know, when he first came in, like, he was a fresh face, and, you know, usually, even in football, let's say, when a new manager comes in, things either work off really well and slowly go downhill, or they start off sort of iffy and they go up. But we've seen with Mattia, it's a very weird mix. He's come in, he's sort of put a couple of good things into the team, he's helped them, provided enough, you know, strength in the team to provide a decent enough car every year to still hold up that number 2 position. Not enough to get that, you know, beating Mercedes, because, well, it's a Merc, but we've seen that he still continues to keep that going, but it just doesn't always go right for him. And at this current moment, we've seen a big switch up in the way, you know, the team itself is working around him. Because at the start, it was always Vettel, then Charles, and how things have changed very quickly because Charles got, you know, a couple of extra points than Vettel. It's like, you know.
It was a clear coming to Ferrari, and I think he was performing better than people expected early on. I think people were expecting it to take a bit of time to get used to the car and the team, but Bahrain, he was leading the race before he had, you know, he had the problem. So that was only the second race. So he was showing a lot of potential. But I think the biggest problem with Mattia Binotto at the moment is around Vettel, and Vettel coming out to say at the press conference ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix that there was no contract on the table, despite Mattia Binotto saying things back in pre-season testing that Vettel is their number 1 driver. You know, he not number 1, like going into the next season is their first choice to renew a contract. And now for Vettel to come out and say they never said anything to me, doesn't look good on Binotto's side.
Yeah, because when the news broke that Vettel announced that, everyone was sort of like, but wait, I thought you were you not like the one that, you know, said in the first place that it was mutual?
Yeah.
To which it now makes you think, did Mattia have something on him that, you know, made him have to sort of agree to keep sort of F1 under wraps so that it didn't look like such a, not violent, but sort of one-sided argument? You know, you're out, we like Charles, he's doing better, we're not even going to offer you a contract, but we're essentially going to fire you, but it's mutual. It's 100% mutual, and you better say that. Otherwise, we're not going to let you race this season. I don't know what they're thinking, but
I think Vettel has come out and basically at the start of him, he's not going to care what the team does or says this season. He's going to do whatever he wants. And for Mattia Binotto to come out and instead of saying, you know, look, we reviewed his performances and we don't think he's going to be good enough next season for us. There's other drivers that, you know, like Carlos Sainz, who eventually got to see, who's showing potential we can have and will respect the team orders effectively. Blaming the likes of COVID and the financial struggles of Ferrari, which is hard to believe. You know, all car manufacturers and businesses around the world, and everyone is struggling. But a company like Ferrari, surely, especially with the budget cap coming in, surely they would be able to pay a 4-time world champion. Even, you know, Vettel once he loves Formula 1, I'm sure he would take a slight pay cut if he needed to. I think there's something more to it than just money and the financial struggles of Ferrari.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because you can't exactly just blame money, because times and times again, even with Kimi Räikkönen, at this point, is Kimi doing it for the money? Obviously not, because he would not have left Ferrari to go race for Alfa Romeo. Like, he's staying in the sport because he enjoys being able to go fast every once in a while, because obviously, you know, there's that off-season period. But I think it's not fair to say that money's the issue, because I think Vettel at this stage in his career, he doesn't need money. He's been well prepared and set up for where he has come through in the ranks of Formula One. He is just looking to get himself another championship winning car, to just even hold that nice little shiny championship in his hands and just wave it at Lewis Hamilton and be all, I did it. Look at this. Keep your 7. You're not getting 8.
Obviously, you know, Vettel going to Ferrari, it was meant to be a fairy tale story of Vettel leaving Red Bull, going to Ferrari, and finally winning another world championship for them.
Yeah.
That's obviously not going to happen. Vettel, is it a case that he didn't want to be the number 2 driver and wanted to be a secure number 1? You have to think, there is still rumours going on that he could be going to Mercedes, which I still don't think is going to happen. Red Bull are apparently open to it, but Vettel and Verstappen, the same team. If Vettel wants to be number 1, that's not going to happen. And then if he goes to any other team, he's going to have that number 1 status, but he's not going to be able to win a championship. So would he not be, if he wanted to win a championship, he would have been safer doing a Rosberg and being the number 2 driver in a top team and just disobeying the team orders for a season to try his best.
But that's the difficult thing, because you know, when you think Ferrari, you are thinking top team,
yeah.
And he is currently 2nd driver, and in that first race, I can definitely tell he is not given the attitude that he's going to take nothing from the team this year. If he's ahead of Charles by 3 seconds and Charles is slightly gaining, he is going to blast on. He does not care. He's just going to try and fight his way and keep his positions, because I can't see him obeying. Let Charles pass next lap. No, why would I do that? I'm ahead of him. Tell him to keep up. That's what he said, I'm pretty sure, in one other race. I can't remember the exact race. But he said he wasn't going to let Charles pass because he wasn't keeping up behind him. Which is, it's fair. Like, if you want to let the other guy pass, you want him to be in close enough range that whenever you do drop back, you know, at least you're not going to get cut out if someone's right up behind him as well. So,
I think one thing Austria did show was Ferrari are not where they're meant to be. They've obviously fast-tracked their upgrades that were meant to come in Hungary. They're now coming in this weekend in Austria. We don't know what that's going to do, but Ferrari, looking at the qualifying pace, all the 3 Ferrari-powered teams all went slower than last year. So it's obviously a Ferrari engine problem, most likely anyway. Last season, Ferrari had a good engine, and there was a bit of a cover-up story of them in Formula 1, not revealing details of, you know, the engine, the investigation. All of a sudden, Ferrari have got an engine that's much slower. I was starting to think now that there was something more to that, and Ferrari were hiding something last season that they paid off Formula 1, or Formula 1 are covering up for them, because it's Ferrari and they bring a lot of fans and a lot of money to the sport.
See, if we think about it, the FIA said they weren't going to release the documents because it would expose too much of Ferrari's secrets, essentially, towards how they built this amazing engine, or just essentially dominated for those races in the first half of the season. And it just leads to sort of, you know, is there a bit of bias going on here? You know, everyone knows Mercedes, they're going to win, they've got the best car. When that came about, were they sort of thinking, you know what, you've had enough, you sort of got your races, we'll keep it hush if you keep it hush and remove it? Yeah, that's what it sort of comes across in the simplest terms. Obviously there's a way bigger problem going on with it, but it's nothing that we actually can find out. So I don't know, honestly.
I think to go back very quickly to Mattia Binotto, if Vettel isn't listening to Ferrari at all this season and is doing what he wants, not listening to team orders, coming out, exposing the team, you know, Vettel, I'm sure he would have got a big down off from Binotto, went back to Muro to say that, why did you say that? Unless, you know, we haven't needed this side, unless Vettel is trying to make up a story to get another team to give him a sympathy seat for next season, which is talented enough to get one in his own merit. But I think we need to understand exactly what happened. I think both parties need to come out and say, you know, there was no contract, or there was going to be contract negotiations, but the initial offer wasn't meeting their demands or whatever. Or if Ferrari are financially struggling, which is a possibility. You look at McLaren.
Yeah.
No one really thought that could happen, but Ferrari, given the team and the name, I don't think they'll be too much of a struggle. I know they're having to cut off staff and stuff for the budget cap, but that's just to meet the budget cap. It's not because they can't afford it. So if Binotto's still in charge, which Ferrari could be looking at Binotto now and thinking, here, maybe not, maybe get someone else in. But the way he's talking to the media more, I think Arriva Bene, he was in before, never talked to the media at all.
Oh,
He was very, very silent, very secretive. All of a sudden Ferrari have been opened up more on social media and stuff, engaging more with the fans, and now there's more coming out about lies and some secrets in the team, which is not really what they wanted.
Yeah, it just seems to be sort of like a wild goose chase, as you could call it. You know, who's chasing who to find out the information or to really figure out what's going on. I think it's just all about silly misunderstanding between the whole thing. So we'll move on to the driver academies. Now the opinion is, well, the statement is, are they pointless? I would have to agree slightly, yes, just down to the fact that a lot of teams that have these academies, they're not really seeing many changes in their own driver squad, I guess you could call it, to allow these younger talent to come up.
For me, the driver academies, the idea is good. It's to allow young drivers to progress through the Feeder Series ranks that might have got the opportunity. Think of Lewis Hamilton being taken by McLaren when he was karting as a youngster, and how he's progressed through. But then the problem I see with these driver academies is, if, say, Esteban Ocon, Mercedes, he come through the Mercedes ranks, the same as George Russell now. They got into Formula 1, but because they were still part of the Mercedes driver academy, they didn't have the opportunity to go elsewhere. They had to be in a Mercedes car, or a Mercedes powered car at the very least.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Ocon didn't have a seat, and we don't know where Russell, you know, there's still rumours going out with Bottas claiming a seat for next season. So that means George Russell could be in Williams for yet another season, which is hugely damaging for him, unless, well, Williams has shown they are closing up, but they're still not there just yet. If Mercedes are thinking, you know what, Bottas will do the job, Russell, they let Russell go like Ocon, it means all that time Russell could have gone into the Ferrari driver academy and been alongside Rankin this season. You know, it could have been possible. It's limited, but if we look at each team and their driver academies, it's actually very interesting, because there's very few have drivers that are ready to step up to Formula 1. If you look at Mercedes, George Russell's still in the books, obviously.
Yeah.
But then they've got three youngsters who are nowhere near ready yet. And probably the Estonian Paul Aron is the most likely. He's in Formula Renault Euro Cup. Promising talent, but still very young, and he's only 16. So he's nowhere ready. He's not even old enough to get a super license. But then you look at Ferrari, and they have a lot of drivers. They have too many drivers, really.
They have a lot, honestly.
And
isn't Charles' brother in there?
Charles' brother is now. He's Formula Regional European Championship driver. He just got into this season. Obviously, we've seen a lot of the Ferrari drivers in these sports, the virtual GPs have been running. But when you have the likes of Mercedes that have one or two drivers in their academy that aren't ready, and no one else, George Russell being the only exception, and he's in Formula 1.
Yeah.
Look at Ferrari, they have four drivers in Formula 2, a couple in Formula 3, and a couple in Formula Regional. They were fighting over literally one seat, possibly, in the future.
And that might not even be a Ferrari seat,
No.
That could be an Alfa Romeo seat.
That's most likely.
That's just sort of, you know, I think that's probably why a lot of drivers might change sometimes through the programs.
See, Ferrari, their academy, the driver lineup they have is brilliant, and if they can use that for Haas and Alfa Romeo to get them drivers in this seat, because a lot of them deserve it. Look at Marcus Armstrong, Formula 2 debut the weekend and was fantastic.
Yeah.
The whole point of the Alfa Romeo seat next season, it's meant to be between Robert Schwartzman and Mick Schumacher. And Schwartzman had a decent weekend, Schumacher was okay, but Armstrong was the stronger driver. But he's not in that order. So where does he get a seat? Because unless they drop both Gio and Raikkonen at Alpha, because remember Raikkonen's in the Sauber seat, there's no room, there's too many drivers. And then you look at Red Bull, probably the most famous junior team in the world.
But it seems to be shambles at the minute though, because you think about it, they own two teams. They have the Red Bull and they now have their AlphaTauri, which was Toro Rosso, and that was supposed to be the B team of the younger drivers to come up. But as we see, we've got Daniel Kvyat still there, whereas a young rookie did come up, Alex Albon, who then obviously replaced Pierre Gasly later on, as though he also followed up through those ranks as well. It does show that they do work, but there's times where they've made the wrong decision in moving, you know, drivers too quickly, and then they underperform and then they have to go back. But when they go back, they don't get out of there, as we've seen with Daniel Kvyat, because he was with Red Bull, the big A team, and then of course he destroyed a couple of cars, being the torpedo he is, and they decided to move him back, and he's been there ever since, which is essentially holding up a space for someone else who's younger to come up through the academy into that Toro Rosso seat.
See, the problem for Red Bull is they have so many, it's like Ferrari, they have so many drivers, not enough seats.
Yeah.
And you think Red Bull having the two teams, there's more seats available. But the problem is, Max Verstappen is to blame for this, for coming through so young and being so good, that they had to put the super license in place and the minimum age, and that's now meant that the only driver that's capable, there is a couple that's capable of getting Yuri Vips, Sergio Sede Camara and Yuki Tsunoda are able to get a super license for next season. None of them are ready. Super Formula, we don't know what's happening with COVID-19. You know, Sede Camara and Yuri Vips is actually having to race in Formula Regional, which is a step below Formula 3. Despite him having a great Formula 3 season last year, he was expected to move up to Formula 2, and that's just to get a super license. So unless AlphaTauri are thinking the next season we'll replace your Kvyat or Gasly with Yuri Vips, but he won't have that experience of racing Formula 2 on the race weekend. Formula 3 is a good, you're racing on the same grid, the same weekend as Formula 1. Formula 2 is that step closer, and you're closer to Formula 1. Formula 3 is a good bit different.
Yeah.
He won't have that experience, and if they move someone like Yuri Vips up, it's gonna be the same thing that's happened in past. Drivers come in, there's a huge hype and potential about them. 3 or 4 races at the end of the season when there's very little to play for, they make a couple of mistakes, a couple of engine failures, and that's your career over.
It is disappointing though, because you really do need that F2 seat before you make that progression up to Formula 1, because as you know, you go through the different series, cars get faster and faster and they become better improved, and obviously Formula 1 is the ultimate goal, but that F2 car is a vital sort of like, it's a necessity almost for going into Formula 1, because it's the closest thing you'll get in relation to sort of agility, I guess you could say, with the amazing aerodynamics. Yes, they're still not as good as Formula 1, and all the cars are relatively the same, but having those cars relatively same, it provides greater alertness, as we've seen with George Russell. If George Russell wasn't as alert and wasn't as in a competitive sort of a race as he is, not well compared to now, where he's not really, he's at the back of the grid, he's not fighting anyone, but having that skill set, it allowed him to just plough through Formula 2 into Formula 1. Yes, he may not have got the best pick of seats out of the other two drivers, but he definitely shows that he has skill, because he has pushed even this first race in Austria, as we've seen. He managed to get an amazing time out of that Williams. That was just so not close. Meant to go that fast.
No, it was
but
so close to Q2.
It just did. It was magic. And everyone, I think there wasn't one person in sort of the F1 community that wasn't trying to root for George Russell to even try and get that point. Fortunately, things happen, engines go. But, you know,
two teams that don't have any drivers in their driver academy. One's McLaren. The last driver to come through was Lando Norris, and I think we should say huge congratulations to him on his first Formula 1 podium,
which we'll be talking about in a wee minute.
Yeah. To see that, it was fantastic.
Oh, it was amazing.
But the McLaren young driver program, you could say it's probably one of the most successful in terms of world titles. Lewis Hamilton coming through, and then obviously he got his title with McLaren and went to Mercedes and was dominant and still is dominant. A couple of drivers, you know, Alexander Albon 2010 when he was karting was part of it. Obviously, you know, he's now been dropped by 2 driver academies,
which is quite shocking actually.
It is, because
he is a decent talent.
Nick de Vries, the current Formula 2 champion, also he wasn't a McLaren young driver last season, 2018 when he left, but they have no one. So, you know, I think that's why Danny Ricciardo has got the seat, because they had no one that could step up. Lando Norris is obviously the long-term future, but McLaren are having to use Mercedes reserve drivers this season. If you're not already aware, if a driver tests positive for coronavirus, the event doesn't call off like it was in Australia. Just a reserve driver replaces them. So they're using the Mercedes. Obviously, the Mercedes engines coming to McLaren for next season. There's no young drivers that are really ready to step up even to the simulator or anything. Racing Point have no one. Realistically, there's no seat available there anyway. If anything, they would probably use the Mercedes Driver Academy, and as I said, they have no one. Renault, on the other hand, they had some pretty big names, Jack Aitken, for example,
and then he switched
last year. They have a couple, Guan Yu Zhou and Christopher Lundgaard, Formula 2, and then they've 2 in Formula 3, which had a good weekend, Max Vettel and Oscar Piastri. Then they've got Adrian David in Formula Renault Euro Cup. But there is a seat available at Renault next season.
Yeah, at this current moment.
As we were recording, nothing's yet been confirmed who is getting the seat.
However, it was sort of talked about that they were thinking of they have someone that they have previously worked with.
That could be anyone.
Which there's a big long list of people, and in recent times, you know, the 2 names that immediately pop into your head is Nico Hülkenberg and Fernando Alonso.
Not forget Julian Palmer.
Yeah, that could happen too, but I think he's had his time. He's enjoying his
BBC commentary.
He's enjoying his time away, I think. Yeah. Whereas Fernando, he's still racing, and Hülkenberg, well, he's just sort of out. I don't think nobody really knows what he's doing at the moment.
I think he was trying to go somewhere else, but obviously with series and stuff that's not able to have wildcard drives or anything. Yeah. He's sort of taking a break. He put something on social media ahead of the race. I was like, you know, great, or let's go Formula 1 or something, and could that be a cryptic message? Did he come back? I don't know. But as I said, when we're recording, we don't know. When you're watching this, the driver could be announced. That could be anyone. But the problem is, it's unlikely to be a young driver.
Yeah.
And Renault have this, and this comes back to the argument at the start of the pointless. Renault have a driver academy with 2 or 3 drivers that are good. Yes, they're probably not ready for Formula 1 just yet. Guan Yu Zhou is probably most likely super license dependent, and that's, I think, a big problem for young driver academies is they have to wait to the end of a season, or at least the last couple of races, to see whereabouts they'll finish and how many super license points they'll get. Because imagine how I feel for a driver if, say, Guan Yu Zhou was, tomorrow was given the Renault seat for next season, and then he doesn't have a super license at the end of it.
Yeah, that would be very disappointing.
But then we skip quickly to Haas. They don't have a formal driver academy. They have Rui Deltraz and Pietro Fittipaldi as test reserve drivers. They're actually listed as their reserve drivers for the season, which I don't know how that's going to work if one of them has to replace either Grosjean or Magnussen, because they don't have a super license.
Yeah.
They obviously, it could be maybe like a Pascal Wehrlein or something like that, knocking about, or if needs to be, I'm sure another team would give them a reserve driver.
If they were struggling badly.
If they were struggling.
Well, they could take anyone on the Ferrari, I suppose.
They could, but then again,
well, they could try.
Ferrari don't really have too many options with super license. Pascal Wehrlein's the one that keeps popping in my head. Ferrari, I think they've Giovinazzi listed as a reserve, I think.
Possibly.
Which is just confusing because he'll jump up the Ferrari and then there's a seat at the Alfa Romeo needs filled. Final driver academy, Williams. My opinion, behind Ferrari, or tied with Ferrari even, most exciting driver academy.
They probably have the best driver academy as well.
I think so. I think Ferrari have so many drivers, and you don't really see how they're going to get the seat. Where with Williams, because they're the bottom of the grid, it's a bit like the Manor HRT days, where drivers can get into a seat, not really cause too much of a fuss at the back, and just take a seat for a season, then move on if needs be. Obviously, George Russell is an exception to that. He's really showing his potential. Latifi struggling a little bit. I would give him a slack for first race, and he was only a position half a point, which he still finished last, but
through the circumstances though,
still he can say
he finished Williams.
He finished 11th. That's still decent for Latifi in his debut. Williams have Jack Aitken and Roy Ninesi and Dan Tickton all in Formula 2. So quite a few Formula 2 drivers. And then Jamie Chadwick, the current W Series champion.
Yeah.
W Series is cancelled this season, but she's got a seat in Formula Regional European Championship, and the same series as Yuri Phipps is dropping into. For Jamie Chadwick, I don't really know where the W Series stands in terms of the feeder series level. It's one of them that she's champion of, but it'll be interesting to see how she does against racers in the Formula Regional Championship. So you could win that championship and then step up to Formula 3 or even Formula 2 next season. And then for Williams to have 2 or 3 drivers in Formula 2 next season again would be brilliant. The standout driver, I think, Dan Tickton had a very impressive weekend, but I think the standout driver and the most likely to get a Williams seat, someone who is actually taking part in free practice 1 this week, Jack Aitken. What's your thoughts on him?
I think Jack has a very good chance at, showing what he might be able to do in that free practice 1. He could go out and set a couple of good decent lap times, and could even,
Latifi mightn't have the seat next week.
That's what I was about to say. He could just, pop a few over, because as they know, it's the same track. They're running the same track. He'll just be in the same cars, probably as Latifi. Isn't he replacing Latifi, or is he replacing George?
I don't know. I don't think it's been confirmed. I would assume he's replacing Russell to allow Latifi a bit more track time.
I suppose. But at least then they can look at sort of, the lap times between Latifi and,
could be interesting.
Aitken, just from free practice, if they, if Williams weren't pushing it in free practice one in the first place, then it's not really a very good representation. But if they were, and Jack Aitken goes out and he goes, you know, I'm gonna see what I can do here, and he sets a better time than Latifi, I would think, you know, questions would have to start being asked.
Yeah, the old driver mentioned, Dan Ticktum, probably the most controversial driver in Formula 2 this season. The issue with him is not his driving, it's his attitude, and I think many people said that. He put in a very impressive weekend. I think he got on the podium in one of the races, which for him is brilliant, and it's good to see another young British driver on the podium. Not the only one on the weekend, but you know, I always, going into the season, I assumed it would be Jack Aitken getting the seat next season for George Russell after he went to Mercedes. Now I'm starting to think Aitken didn't have the best weekends. He struggled in qualifying. He was caught out by a yellow flag, I think. He struggled. Dan Ticktum put an impressive drive. Roy Nissany was okay. I was never expecting him to be a standout performer anyway. But I think this goes back to the question of, are they pointless? Out of all the teams discussed, there's only really one or two that have a realistic chance of getting a young driver in the seat next season. And for all these drivers, Jack Aitken obviously left Renault to go to Williams, and I think at the time that was the right decision, because Renault looked like they had the driver line up and knock on Ricciardo for a few seasons, and he's gone to Williams, and now there's a seat of Renault. Is the driver academies restricting the drivers too much, that they're sort of being told, right, you cannot negotiate with another team in their contract that if you have a Formula 1 offer, we have to match that, or you're not allowed to reject that? Is that damaging to the futures?
Can be. It's a tough one to discuss, because at the same time, if you've been with these academies and they're the ones that have helped you get through your career, like if they're putting funding into the parts of, even from karting, say you've come up through karting and you've had that sponsorship with that team, and they've taken you your whole way through, even Formula 3 and Formula 2, and then you go, am I going to change? Bye. And they're like, hold on, what? We've just helped you get all this way here, and now you want to ditch us? You know, in a sense, I can see why they would sort of put them under strict contract rules. But at the same time, if they're not going to be able to provide enough knowledge, like if they had told him, we're thinking about...
So no one expected Vettel to leave Ferrari, and if Vettel didn't leave Ferrari, Ricciardo, Sainz wouldn't be going to Ferrari, and then Ricciardo wouldn't be going to McLaren. So I think if there was no driver academies existed, it would damage a lot of youngsters, because the funding they receive from them is what's helping them develop through the ranks. When they get to Formula 2 and they're so close to Formula 1, that's when I think it becomes damaging, because you're too restrictive. But then again, they're the ones that have paid for their seats, or the most part of their seats, throughout their young career. So let us know in the comments below what your thoughts on driver academies are, because it's one of them things, either you like them or you hate them. They do have a use.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's just whether
it's properly managed.
It's properly managed, and teams like Ferrari taking so many drivers, like the likes of Schumacher. It could have been more Mercedes. He could have been Mercedes' next driver. He could have been the person that replaces Russell at Williams. But because Ferrari have 4 or 5 drivers in Formula 2, it's really a shootout this season, and for 2 or 3 of them, it could be their end of any hopes of getting into Formula 1.
Now, let's move on to the big news of, I suppose, the weekend. We've seen McLaren. They did pretty well in qualifying, to say the least. Mr. Lando Norris, he started in 3rd, and well, he fought his way through that grid like a little crazy boy. Who would have thought a Twitch streamer with really good reaction time would manage to pull off his first ever podium in the first race of the season back?
I wasn't impressed with drive from Lando Norris. Obviously didn't finish P3 at the flag, but obviously Hamilton decided he wanted to crash into Albon.
You know, again,
the same game in 3 races.
Brazil.
But Norris is obviously the first new British driver on the podium since Lewis Hamilton back in 2007.
He's also the youngest British driver to ever get a podium.
Yeah, so obviously Lewis was a little bit older when he came into Formula 1, and obviously he's still dominating at the front. But it was his penalty that caused, I think, it could be up there for a moment of the season.
Oh, 100%.
And it's not even.
It's only the first race.
It's not even, you know, the actual the lap of Fernando Norris, the final lap, fastest lap of the race, was fantastic. But there was that graphic to come up at the end, the final corner, that I just waited until he crossed the line, and then 4.852 or something like that come up. I think
4.8 DHL fastest lap. You're like, what just happened here? And then you just see the final placements. Lewis goes, and you're like,
I think every Formula 1 fan was sitting there thinking,
oh, the shock.
And you're thinking, right, go on, can he do it? It would be lovely to do it. He's not going to do it. Lewis is gaining, and then that time starts dropping. You're like, okay, Norris, purple sector.
Because he was up by, he was like 5.3, 5.4 seconds. Like he gained pretty much 0.6. He gained just like 0.6 of a second out of nowhere in those last 4 corners. 4 or 5 corners, and he just went pew, bang.
And then whenever they come up, Norris, purple sector 1, you're like, okay, something's going here. Then I was expecting them to, you see a shot of him going under the gravel somewhere, and I was like, that's it over. But it's great to have a new British driver on the podium.
Oh, 100%.
And this is what Formula 1 needs. Formula 1 for too long now has been Mercedes, Ferrari, with Red Bull picking up the pieces and challenging on certain tracks. Now McLaren have had 2 podiums in 3 races.
Technically, yes.
Technically, you have. Obviously, Brazil was a crazy race, and this race
even with Pierre, like he cracked out one too.
This race was crazy, and I still believe that the only way these teams are going to get podiums is if there is a crazy race. Like yesterday, or like Germany last season. Hopefully, with the new regulations, it closes everyone up. We've already started seeing everyone close up. I think Mercedes are still far out in front, and with Ferrari struggling, I just hope Ferrari's new upgrades don't give them, don't make them too far out ahead of everyone else, because then it'll be Mercedes, Ferrari podiums every week. It's great to see drivers like Norris get on the podium. Obviously, it's not. McLaren have made a habit of celebrating in unusual podiums. Because obviously Sainz didn't even get to stand on the podium officially. But see Lando Norris do his trademark, smash the champagne to the ground. That he's done. I didn't realise he'd done it throughout his career, and I seen a brilliant edit on social media of him his first Formula 3 podium doing it.
And it was
a quick cut until
timed perfectly as it left the ground.
And I feel like British fans, Hamilton's always been a controversial figure, and British fans are now, same with George Russell, they have 2 young drivers that they can really look up to, and for them drivers to get on so well, it's the same as all the young drivers, they all get on so well. It's a breath of fresh air, Formula 1.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And it's no longer a 3-horse race at the front. It's Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari-ish, McLaren Racing Point are fighting there. Driver makes any mistake, it could be anyone on the podium. It could be Gasly on the podium next week for all we know. Which
he put out a decent performance, so he finished 7th, wasn't it?
7th, and he was actually told in lap 10 to retire the car because of potential brake failure. Obviously, he must have been fairly confident that wouldn't have happened, because obviously it's very dangerous, but it was allowed out for one more lap, got everything cooled down, and for me, he was one of the better drivers today. Underrated driver there, I think.
Oh yeah, I think like we've covered him enough, and we ask enough questions about Mr. Pierre Gasly, which, he's just
one of the drivers that
he's good
for redemption,
but he's not good.
Yeah,
he's not Lando good.
No, He's
Well,
not
and
world, he's
could
not world
be.
championship material.
Not yet.
Not yet. If he had been staying up the Red Bull this season, still last, we never know. But it's great to see Norris in the podium, and it's going to make an interesting season.
I can't wait for the next race this weekend.
Styrian Grand Prix, the first ever Styrian Grand Prix.
Even though it's still the Austrian Grand Prix, but
It'll be weird saying that. We'll probably call it the Austrian Grand Prix because
yeah,
it's Steinmark Styrian, or I don't even know how you pronounce it or even spell it. So anything you see from us could be Austria GP 2.0, but then we go to we go to Hungary, then Silverstone for 2 rounds. So it's going to be a busy season, but hopefully it's going to be an enjoyable one. I think that's everything we got to say today.
So talking about enjoyable, we hope you enjoyed today's podcast, as we have, you know, a lengthy discussion today and into a lot of things that
changed up our setting as well.
Oh, I forgot to mention we decided to change it up a bit. Instead of, you know, being on the laptops, we still have them, but, you know, make it a nice wee bit of a scenery.
Actually in person.
I can't.
We'll not go touch each other with COVID and stuff, but we're here.
So we say well done to Valtteri, Charles, you did okay, and Lando.
Yeah, let's ignore it. So Alonso have to just move the.
You don't see them. Yeah. Well, congratulations to the drivers. What an amazing top 3 it is to have.
It's actually the first time Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren have all been on the podium one time. I think I'm right in saying that.
Nobody knows. So, thank you all for watching. Make sure you check out our social medias and stay up to date what's going on in the world of motorsport. We post quite frequently, mainly on Twitter, but you might see a few things pop up on Instagram too. Make sure you also check out the website, theapexmotorsport.com, where this kind of person over here likes to write a couple of articles out in the world of motorsport.
I'm going to be trying to write about a lot more motorsport, different series when they start coming back. Obviously, there's a bit of a struggle to get stuff out in the off season to break, but MotoGP is coming back, British Superbikes are coming back. Obviously, you've got the Formula E 6 races in a week, so a lot to come out on the website and the YouTube channel over the coming weeks, so months and hopefully years.
So make sure you subscribe down below and tap that notification bell so you'll be notified when we do upload videos. So there's not much else to say except, once again, thank you for watching and goodbye from me and Richard.
Bye.
If you do enjoy our content and want to see more, why not click on one of the videos that are on screen now.